Now, from the 1st of July next year, Nigerians would have to pay much more to purchase a litre of petrol because the federal government intends to finally put a stop to the payment of fuel subsidy by the end of the month of June 2022. Now, according to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, the federal government has made provision for petrol subsidy till mid of next year and also complete the regulation of the downstream oil and gas sector, which would also start by the second half of the year 2022. It would also be recalled that the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has stopped petrol subsidy a few times only to reintroduce through the back door. Well, this occurs mostly when the price of the commodity is raised. And now, with the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act by the President a few months ago, now fuel subsidy is expected to become a history. However, the government has set up a committee to look into the best way to gradually remove it and make Nigerians pay for the true value of the product. Well, to discuss this and more and other issues in the oil and gas sector, I have joining me virtually Management Consultant and Oil and Gas Policy Advisor Michael Faniran. Good to have you on the show today.
Good afternoon. Good to be with you.
Now, looking at the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, it is expected that we also see a removal of fuel subsidy. According to the 2022 appropriation bill, the last coverage of any sort of petrol subsidy is by the end of the first half of this year. How do you see this interface playing out, the reality of subsidy regime coming to an end in Nigeria?
So thank you. The latest information we have is from Finance Minister that the first subsidy will be removed by the end of June next year. And by 1st of July 2022, we should be paying the true value of fuel, and the subsidy would have been. But as it is now, based on we're actually going by the letter of the Petroleum Industry Act as signed by the President. Currently, it is a violation of that law for us to still be subsidized petroleum products as of today, because the intention of the Act is that once the Act is signed, the sales of petroleum products is going to be determined by market forces. And like you rightly said, the government have tried severally to remove the subsidy on fuel. And through the back door, they introduced it again, called it several names, over recovery, under recovery, whatever the name are, the subsidy thing. So, and we know this one is known by everybody that this is not sustainable. It is affecting the economy. Currently, the NMPC recently projected that we might be paying about 3 trillion naira per annum for subsidy. For example, about 3 billion naira daily is what NMPC has used to subsidize petroleum products based on the information that have been available. This is not going to be sustainable. If you look at the budget that have been passed, the budget that have been submitted for next year, our debt servicing is about 3.6 trillion. So that means if we are servicing debt for 3.6 trillion, then our subsidy cost is going to be around 3 trillion as well. So we could have used that money to service those debts or do something else. That money that we are paying on subsidy for many years ago, could have been channeled into health, could have been channeled into security, could have been channeled into quite a lot of things. And everybody knows, unless we are just keep ourselves that subsidy regime is not sustainable, then we are just finding a way just to keep ourselves. We can't do anything but to remove this subsidy.
Now, Michael, if we look at the reality on ground now, the NNPC remains the sole importer of petrol into the country. We have a huge differential between the landing cost of petrol and then what we have playing out at the pump price of petrol. If we had to place a peg, how do you see a spike in the cost of petrol in the coming year?
So, well, currently the price of crude is about $80. Normally, this should be a good news for Nigeria because we are exporting crude. But again, it's neither good nor bad. It's good on one hand because we are going to get more revenue from our crude export. But again, at the end of the day, it means we are going to be paying more for the petroleum product, which is the reason why we need to refine this crude locally, why we need to develop our refining capacity, which I think government is trying to do now, and to make sure that we refine this locally and not keep importing petroleum products. So as long as we pray that price of crude goes up so that we can get more revenue, definitely we are going to be paying more locally for petroleum products. So one of the things which is the medium-term or long-term initiative is for us to make sure that we refine this locally. And if you look at the PIA, one of the objectives or the pillar of the PIA that has signed is that we are going to have value addition to our natural resources here. We are going to refine, we are going to add value to our products before we send them out. And if you look at the one of the objectives of the African Free Trade Agreement for Nigeria as well is to make sure that whatever we are exporting, even to Africa or to other countries, we add value to them before they are sent. They are sent out. Yes, definitely the price is going to go high. Just like we remember when we started the telecommunication. You know how much you bought your SIM is going to go high, but again, it's going to come down by the when there's competition. And by the time we are able to refine locally, we have more refinery joining the Dangote refinery. A lot of refinery now coming up, so the price will go down. And there has been issue around what's the impact on the poor, because that has been sentiment that when the price goes up, it's going to affect the poor, transportation costs, it's going to affect the common man on the street. As it is now, and I keep saying, the subsidy regime, it is the poor that is subsidizing the rich. How much, so by the time you calculate the subsidy that the poor man is enjoying, it's not up to 1/10 of what a rich man is enjoying daily. So a rich man who should normally even have the money to pay for this petroleum product is even enjoying more subsidy than the poor. So at the end of the day, it is the poor that is actually subsidizing it. And if this money cannot be channeled into healthcare, if this money can be channeled into security, if this money can be channeled into housing, then the poor man will have benefits on that other side. Because the rich man that you are subsidizing today, when he's sick, he goes to London. When he's sick, he has the money to go to India. But the poor man on the street, the average man, does not have money to go to India. He has to go to the underfunded hospital that we have here. So it's better that we remove this money that we're using to subsidize and use it in our basic amenities. Then again, the issue is that the trust coefficient between the populace and the government is very, very low. So we've conducted a survey some time ago, and what people are saying that the people do not trust that the money the money from the subsidy will be used for these basic amenities. A lot of people on the street don't believe that, okay, they believe that the subsidy is the only thing they're enjoying. That even the subsidy is removed. How are they sure that the government is going to use this money for all the things that the government is going to use them for? So government needs to start now. Now they've given us a timeline of about 9 months advance now. So they need to start engaging people. We need to see the plan on how, you just said now that the committee has been set up, how this subsidy will withdraw, and what are some of the things that are going to be put in place when this subsidy.
I like the fact that you made mention of the fact that we have some level of trust deficit between the masses and then the federal government. Now, we've had concerns raised by the World Bank, the increase in cost of energy. The double questions we have on the mind of average Nigerian is, first and foremost, what sort of cushions will be put in place to help mitigate the level of shock this subsidy removal is going to impact on the masses? And then the second question, again, is that with this June 2022 deadline, do you see a further shift in this timeline?
Well, if you look at the antecedents, let me take the last question first. If you look at the antecedents of the government, previous government and this one, we might have reason to doubt, because this is not the first time that the government has made pronouncements about the fact that they are going to end subsidy. We've had this over and over, and government has reneged on this promise. So it is now left for the government to redeem its image like this time around. Because not redeeming its image, then people, even the investor, not just common man, will not be able to trust them in other areas. We are talking about PIA now, bringing investment into Nigeria. And if again, government says we are going to remove this by July next year or June next year, and government does not remove it, then again, even the investor will start to doubt the government and not be able to do what they want to do based on what government has. So it's based on government now to make sure that it make the problem. So we don't have control over that. Government is the only one who has control over that, and we believe they should be able to make this work at this time. Yes, the World Bank, everybody has been saying this, not just now. This has been on for forever. All I'm just hoping that this declaration by government is not because it's a condition by World Bank for maybe any incentive or any loan or any amenity or any facility they're going to get from the World Bank. I hope it is genuine this time around. I hope it's not because of pressure from World Bank. Everybody knows that this subsidy regime is not sustainable. If you look at our budget estimate now, only 30% of something of it is capital expenditure. So we are spending quite a lot of it on recurrent, and 6 trillion out of the 16 trillion is budget deficit. So you are not going to add a subsidy on that. So it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. So we have to just buy the bullets. Government just have to do it. Leaders have to take our decision at the time. So let's see how it goes. And government must make sure that they put palliatives in place. We've been hearing the word palliatives for many years now to make sure that the effect on the common man, there's some question on the effect on the common man. Like I mentioned, government needs to reassure the common man on the impact or how they are going to ameliorate that impact on them. And again, government needs to engage all stakeholders. And this is one of the issues. I know government, in some cases, government has wanted to reduce it, but again, you see the labor leaders, you see the civil organizations again this. And when you meet some of these individuals in private, they all believe that subsidy rate is not sustainable. Then because people want to be politically relevant, when they come out, they tell you government cannot remove subsidy. So let's not deceive ourselves. Let's come out and all own up about what is going on, so that we can all make and we can have a decision that we can call our own.
And then talking about the state of affairs now, we expect that with the implementation of the PIA, we would also see full deregulation of the petroleum industry sector now. That term is highly questionable when you look at the sentiment we have in reality versus what plays out on paper. How do you see, come the second half of next year, full deregulation of the petroleum sector, letting market realities define and also seeing improvement as a whole? How do you see deregulation playing out for us? What side of this would we see?
Well, just like what we said, so the government has put up a committee, like I said, so government needs to read out what the plan towards it, and like I said, we must put plans in place in terms of policy for the common man on the street. Maybe is it going to be a gradual withdrawal? Is it going to be total withdrawal from on July 1st? So one thing that could happen if the price of crude goes down is going to help government to remove it, because then the price of the landing cost would have gone low, which is one opportunity that this government earlier. But if it doesn't happen, then we need to do it. All we need to know is that government must communicate, must engage, so that people are expecting. You know what happened at during the previous administration, that there was Ojo Tara. It happened on the 1st of January. People are not expecting. People thought there was going to be deregulation, but they were not expecting it to happen on 1st of January when people were celebrating. So that's what actually sparked of that rise. People knew that at that particular point in time that subsidy needs to be, and the benefit on our side, all the people who are opposed to that benefit reduction and removal at that particular point in time can now say, oh, this should have actually supported it. So what government can do is to communicate more with people, to gain the trust of people, for people to know that, okay, whatever they are, the subsidy money. And let me correct something. People always say savings from subsidy. There is no savings from subsidy. What we are doing is cost avoidance from subsidy, because it is cost. So that cost avoidance, that cost that we are incurred of subsidy, well, we can now budget provision to do something else. That's the way I see it play out. Again, until we see what the plan of government, I don't want to claim what government wants to do in terms of we can only advise government that we think they should go.
Let us also now have your assessment of the implementation of the PIA so far. We've seen the establishment of the steering committee, and then the president also requesting for some amendment of the some sections of the PIA. What's your take on all of the plots, the events that have played out in the recent days, and what should we expect as well as you're looking at the implementation coming much more as it gains momentum?
All right. Yes, I did mention when the PIA was signed, we were all happy because a lot of us actually put in a lot of effort to get the PIA. And yes, it was one only that was crossed, and I did say then that the success of the PIB moving into PIA will depend on the extent of implementation of the PIA. Fair enough, we've seen a lot of action from the government, which shows that government really wants to implement this PIA. But again, I wouldn't want just a cosmetic implementation of the PIA. I want a PIA to be implemented based on some foundation, based on some guiding principles. Now, for example, the government set up 3 levels of implementation committee. You have the steering committee, which has the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Minister of Finance, Attorney General, the head of the agency, and you have the coordinating working group, which is led by the Secretary of PGDF. And again, within all the institutions, you have the institutional working groups, NNPC, DPR, and all those. So very, very good idea. So we believe that people are working. But since then, we have not seen, so we expect, because according to PIA, we should be getting an implementation plan. So we are expecting that we'll be getting an implementation plan from the minister. So that we can see what is the transition plan for the PIA. We are yet to get that one because after the sign, that just gets simpleness of things from names and things like that. We are yet to see something that the industry can now hold on to and plan based on that. Yes, we've seen a new organization being created, but again, I look at it. What are the guiding principles for those? So we change the DPR to upstream commission. We change. So what I've seen is just the changing. But for you to change an organization, the new organization that these are moving to, I'm not sure they have been created. Because the first thing is that you look at the mandate of the upstream commission, for example. You based on the mandate, that drives the kind of organization structure. You're going to see the organization structure with DPR for the upstream commission. It's going to be the mandate that has changed.
Michael, I would have to button here for the lack of time. Now, let's just wrap up our conversation in just a minute. I'd like your thoughts on conversations we're seeing around cleaner energy, conversations around climate change, conversations around energy cost, and a whole lot more. Now, looking at the transition we expect to see, do you see the PIA addressing our energy transition needs?
No, PIA is a different thing, which is on fossil fuel. However, Nigeria now needs to come up with a transition, energy transition policy. I had the vice president about a few days ago was represented and said that Nigeria has an energy transition plan. I will say what I believe is that we cannot be stampeded into this clean energy in terms of deadline by the foreign country. Saudi Arabia just came up and said they are not going to meet the net zero until 2060. So even if it's 2080 or 2090 or whatever it is, Nigeria just needs to have a plan so that we can see something. So this is our own plan. So I had 2050. It's questionable. I'm not sure at the level we are now we can achieve net zero at 2050. But again, what we just need is an energy transition policy that will now be linked to the PIA. The PIA is currently there's no mention of that. It is not addressing the energy transition.
Exactly. Thank you very much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Michael Faniran. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.